Yo, 1999 Toyota Camry. I'm going to show you how I do rear drum brakes on these. I actually watched a couple other videos on YouTube, the best ones, and they were completely cringeworthy. So I'm going to do this my way, and hopefully if you're fortunate enough to watch this video, if you have to do brakes on this, you can make it quick, clean, and easy. First thing you got to do is get the drum off. You can beat it with a hammer until it gets loose and pull it off. And if it doesn't want to come off, you can take a torch and you can get this about 500 degrees, just the center. That's the only thing that'll hold it on, and it'll loosen up. And if it's too tight, it's because this ridge here is too rusty and too thick. So you can try to work it off with a screwdriver or something. You might break the hardware if you do it, and if not, there's an adjuster right here. Now the first thing I'm going to want to do is get like a C vice grip. If you don't have one of these, you can use a C clamp. You might be able to use a regular vice grip of some kind and just clamp that down just to keep the shoe from going that way. You're going to want to get this spring out with a screwdriver. You put a regular screwdriver in here and just pull on it. It pops right out. And then either you can use a pair of pliers or a needle nose vice grip. I got one of these cheapy jobbies too that are pretty cool. You put your finger on the back of this pin, you push in and turn, and you can get this clip out like that. There's a little groove in there. And you got another one back here. I'm going to use a pair of pliers and get that one out. Just push it through. There. And I get the pin out. There's a spring down on the bottom here. See that spring? I can just take this shoe and take it out. And I can take this one off. I'm going to use my needle nose. I don't even like that thing most of the time. I just broke it out to break it out. Just like that. I can flop this out of the way, turn it upside down. Now that I got it turned upside down, I got a spring here to deal with. I can use a pair of pliers and take that out. It's not very strong. Flip it back around again. Now that I got it turned around again, I got an E-clip right here. I can bust that off. And I can get this adjuster and take that out. And I can flip it upside down again. And then I got this jazz to deal with. This adjuster. Just kind of pull that out of the way like that. And I got a spring with an adjuster right here that I'm hanging on to. I'm going to set that down for now. So I need to flip this over again. And I got a little clip here I got to deal with. Just going to try to turn it for now. And I can just take a pair of pliers and just stick it on here and try to press it. It's a little looser. I don't quite got it yet. There, I think I pressed it out enough. I can get a screwdriver back in here. Yank that out. Then this comes off. Now on these, depending on what side you're working on, there's a short and a long shoe. See, there's a big gap on here, and then on the bottom there's a big gap on there. See that? There's almost no gap on the top on this one, and that one's got a pretty big gap on it too. So I got to make sure I use the right pad. And most of these shoes, they come with this pin. This is the right shoe for this. This did not come with any pins. So I got to drive this thing out. Like I say, you should really make sure you get the shoes with the pins in them. But I could take like a 12mm socket if I wanted to and hammer on this. But I don't really want to hammer on it either because I could mushroom this out and damage it. So I'm going to use a press for this. You probably don't have anything like that. So like I say, you're going to want to get one with a pin in it because these are pretty, they're in there pretty good. I'm just going to be real quick about this. They do go in easier than they come out. I actually kind of took a little chunk out of the thing. That'll still work. There's some contact points on here. You got 2 on the wheel cylinders, here and here, which don't really matter that much at all. And you got some contact points here. You can tell where the shoes are hitting because there's rust on them. If there's any big chunks or flakes of rust on here, you want to scrape those off and make them nice and flat. That way your shoes will move really easy. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2 more on the bottom here. They actually look pretty good, amazingly enough. There's contact points right here too, and right here. Those aren't really too critical. And you want to get some brake caliper grease. You want to put them on all these contact points. Just like that. Now that those are on, you got your e-brake lever here. You want to put this back on. I got a brake hardware kit for it. You always want new brake hardware. Put that little U thingamajigger on there, and I can just squish this down with a pair of pliers. That's good and squished, so that won't come off of there. I can take my spring off of my adjuster, like so. There is a right and a left spring for these, so you want to make sure you get the right ones. I got some silicone paste or dielectric grease. I'm using Silglide actually. It's the same stuff. This is just a little better, I think. There's a little groove in this thing. Just put a little bit in that groove right there. Yep. I can stick that back on there and it should feel nice and lubed now. I'm going to put a little bit on these threads too, just because I can. Just a little bit. Don't need to get carried away. I'm going to screw this adjuster all the way in. Put my spring back on. Should go like that. And then I can flip this back over again. I want to set this spring in here. And put that adjuster on the right way. I want the little pointy thing facing out towards the e-brake lever. Then I can put the adjuster back on. That's got to go around the back and in the hole. Then I put my little clippy thing on here. They don't have an E-clip with this. They got these pinch clips that I got to use for this. That should be wonderful. That ain't coming off of there. After I get all of that in, I can flip this over again. And I can put this spring on. That's how you get that side on. This isn't a very strong spring, so you can just use a pair of pliers for this. Just so long as everything's in line, that thing should fall in so it's nice and tight up against here. And that spring should go in with almost no pressure at all. Nice and easy. There, just like that. And see my adjuster's all stuck in here really good. So I can flip it over again and put everything back the way it's supposed to be, just like that. And after I do that, I'm just going to hold this with my C-vise again because I love C-vices. And I got this pin to deal with. You always want to put a little brake caliper grease on these pins. If you don't lube these like this, these things can make noise. If this shoe moves even a little bit, it'll squeak like crazy. You're not going to like it. And I got a spring retainer that goes on here. Spring retainer. Sometimes they snap in there. This one doesn't though. It'll fall out on me. I like to use a needle nose vice grip on this too because I can put the needle nose in line with the groove and it just makes it easier so I know what direction this is going in. I can see it real easy and it goes right in like that. Now I got this spring to deal with. I can just put it on like this. Put this other spring on like this. And stick it on up here. While I'm holding on to this, I can turn this adjuster to line it up with this slot. Kind of got my spring in the way. Pull that out of the way. Make sure it's in the wheel cylinder like that. And I can push it in. Because there's a spring in here and it's pushing all these out. I want to push this all the way in. Well, I got all that pushed in. I can put another vice grip right here. Just to kind of hold everything in there like that. I can get my regular screwdriver and stick it in here and bam. Take my vice grips off. I got another pin for the other side. I can lube that up. And there it is, it's all in there. Now all I got to do is take my hand, make sure it rocks back and forth nice and smooth. Up and down. See how smooth that is? If you hear any squeaking going on, that's because something isn't lubricated right. This is really super smooth. That's exactly what you want. Somebody put anti-seize on these studs. That's a big no-no. Anti-seize everywhere. It's just a nasty mess. Your torque readings are off too. If you put any anti-seize on here, you're not going to get the right torque. It's going to be over-torqued. You got to tighten these down to 80 foot-pounds. Dry. I used to work with a guy that used to put anti-seize on everything, and he'd always get comebacks with warped brake rotors and wonder why. Couldn't tell that guy not to do it. He wouldn't listen. Cleaned all these mating surfaces really well. Now I want to be able to get at this adjuster in here. Line up the hole with the hole. I think that's the wrong hole. Yeah, that's a better hole. I put a couple nuts on here just so I can spin it, and it spins way too easy. I want just a little bit of drag on the brake rotor, not much. I just want it barely touching off these shoes on this rotor. So I want to turn this adjuster. I got to push in on it like this. You'll hear it clicking. If I try to go the other way, it won't move because that adjuster holds it and it stops it. So you know you're going the wrong way. I just want to keep checking it. Now if it's too loose, your pedal height will be too low. So the tighter you get this, the farther up your pedal goes. But you don't want it too tight, because if you get it too tight, this drum's going to heat up and everything's going to expand in there, and it's going to get tighter and tighter, and then it's going to make this drum really hot, and it's going to wear everything out really bad. Now I'm going to keep going. See, that's too tight now. So I got to get in here with an angled pick or something or another. I got to get up under that adjuster and pull it back and turn this up. And then it's loose again. I'm going to leave it right there. Put a plug in it, torque this wheel down to 80 foot-pounds, and call it a job. Okay, bye.